My name is Claire. I was 18 when I realized that sometimes the cruelest form of rejection isn't loud. It's the quiet kind. The one that happens when people stop seeing you at all. My 18th birthday was supposed to be the day I finally felt seen. But it became the moment I disappeared completely. It began with a promise. My parents said this year would be different. That we'd have a small dinner. That it would be special. I even believed them. I spent weeks planning, saving from my part-time library job to buy decorations and a blue dress that made me feel like I might actually belong in my own story for once. But when the day came, they didn't show up on time. My sister Lily had a volleyball tournament, and as always, everything revolved around her. They promised to be home by 5. By 6, my friends were there, smiling awkwardly in my living room, waiting for a family that never arrived. I kept glancing at the clock, pretending it didn't matter, forcing laughter that didn't reach my eyes. When they finally burst through the door at 6:30, my mother's arm was around Lily, who looked furious and on the verge of tears. She lost. My mom whispered like it was a tragedy. The house went quiet, as if my birthday were the least important thing in the world. I tried to salvage what was left. I smiled, served dinner, made jokes no one heard. Lily sulked through every bite, complaining about the food, mocking my decorations, calling my party childish. I tried to stay calm, but her words stung. Then came the cake. A cheap store-bought one with my name scrawled in blue icing. I asked softly. I thought we were baking one together. My mother didn't look at me. We didn't have time. When I began to cut it, Lily tipped over her glass of water. It splashed all over my new dress. "Oops," she said. My mother rushed to wipe the table. My father sighed, eyes fixed on his phone. I stood there trembling, water dripping down my hands. And then, as if to mark her territory, Lily shoved the cake. It slid off the table and splattered across the floor I had scrubbed earlier that day. My friends gasped, one by one. They made excuses to leave. When the door finally closed, silence filled the house. I stood there surrounded by the smell of frosting and humiliation. Upstairs, Lily slammed her door. My parents followed her, their voices muffled through the ceiling, comforting her. Again, no one came to me. No one ever did. That night, as the house quieted and the moonlight fell through my window, I decided I was done begging to be noticed. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the dark window, the reflection of my ruined blue dress still damp in the mirror. I thought about every moment I had swallowed my feelings, every time I'd smiled while being overlooked. I thought about how they hadn't even realized they'd broken me years ago. That night, something inside me hardened, not into anger exactly, but resolve. I didn't want to fight for space in a house that would never make room for me. At dawn, I opened my laptop and read the acceptance letter I'd been saving for a special moment. A full scholarship to Westbridge University, 3,000 miles away. I had planned to announce it at dinner, to finally earn their pride. But now I understood that even that moment would have been stolen by Lily. They would have smiled politely, then turned back to her. So I made another decision. I would leave. No dramatic confrontation, no shouting, no pleas, just quiet disappearance. The same kind they'd trained me for all my life. Over the next few weeks, I prepared carefully. I packed when no one was home, boxed away the things that mattered, donated what didn't. I withdrew my savings bit by bit, created a new phone account, arranged my travel. I told only one person, my best friend Rachel. She didn't try to stop me. "You deserve peace," she said. "You've earned it." I wrote a letter to my family, leaving it in my desk drawer. "I'm not leaving to hurt you. I'm leaving to find myself. Please respect that." The morning I left, the world was quiet. My parents were at work, Lily at practice, my little brother at a friend's house. I set the letter on my bed, took one last look at the room that had never truly been mine, and walked out. Rachel drove me to the bus station. We sat in silence for most of the ride, until she said, "You're not running away, Claire. You're walking towards something better." I boarded that bus with 2 suitcases and a heart equal parts fear and freedom. The ride was long, hours of fields and empty roads, but with every passing mile, I felt lighter, When I finally reached the campus, the air smelled different, fresher, full of possibilities. My dorm room was small, bare, but it was mine. I unpacked slowly, savoring the feeling of creating a space no one could invade or belittle. For the first time, silence didn't mean invisibility. It meant peace. That first week at Westbridge was disorienting. I kept waiting for someone to tell me I didn't belong there, that I had made a mistake. But no one did. Professors praised my essays. A classmate invited me to study together. The librarian offered me a job at the front desk. Every small kindness felt foreign, like I'd stumbled into a parallel world where I was finally visible. Still, at night, when the lights dimmed and the hum of campus quieted, guilt crept in. What if my family thought I'd disappeared for good? What if my little brother blamed himself? After a week, I turned on my old phone. The screen exploded with notifications, missed calls, voicemails, texts. At first they were angry. This is unacceptable. Call home now. Then they turned desperate. We're worried sick. Please let us know you're safe. I typed a short message. I'm safe. I need space. I'll reach out when I'm ready. Then I powered it off again. I wasn't ready for their panic or their guilt. I wasn't ready to explain that this was never about revenge. It was survival. For the first time in 18 years, I ate dinner without tension, fell asleep without resentment, and woke up without fear. I began to understand that sometimes walking away isn't an act of defiance. It's an act of self-respect. And maybe, just maybe, the version of me they never cared to see could finally start living. 2 weeks passed before I found the courage to check the rest of their messages. I waited until a Saturday evening, sitting on my dorm bed with the curtain drawn and a warm cup of tea in my hand. As if bracing for an emotional storm, the messages were exactly what I expected. Confused, angry, guilt-laced. My mom's first voicemail was teary but accusatory. How could you do this to us? Claire, do you have any idea how worried we are? My father's texts were short and firm. This isn't mature. Come home and explain yourself. But what stopped me cold was the single text from Lily. You always make everything about you. I stared at that message for a long time. The irony of it nearly made me laugh. For years, I had faded into the background so Lily could shine. And now my quiet exit was somehow a threat to her spotlight. It was almost comical. Almost. But then there were the messages from my younger brother. Ben, simple, heartbreaking ones. Where are you? I miss you. When are you coming home? I replied to him first. I miss you too. Buddy, I'm safe. I just need time. But I'll write you soon. Promise. I avoided any other contact until I was ready. I focused on school, on small things that grounded me. My job at the library, walks across campus under changing autumn leaves, long nights in the dorm lounge with classmates turned friends who liked me simply for being me. Each day, I became a little more whole. I didn't have to shrink anymore to make space for someone else. Then, one afternoon in late October, my phone rang. It was my dad. I let it go to voicemail. Then it rang again. And again. On the fourth attempt, something in me said, "Pick up." So I did. "Claire," he said, his voice quieter than I'd ever heard it. "I owe you an apology. Not a half-hearted one. A real one. I didn't speak. I didn't see you," he continued. "We didn't see you. We were so busy trying to manage Lily's fire that we never noticed we were letting yours go out." There was silence. Then, almost involuntarily, I asked, "Why?" "Because you never demanded anything," he said. "You were good, smart, independent. We thought that meant you didn't need us." I blinked hard, biting the inside of my cheek. "I did need you. I just learned not to ask." "I know," he said, his voice breaking. "And I'm so sorry. It wasn't everything, but it was something." That moment was the first time someone in my family had acknowledged the years I'd spent being invisible. It cracked something open inside me. Pain, yes, but also a sliver of hope. Over the next few weeks, he kept calling. My mom joined in. I didn't forgive easily, but I listened. I spoke when I was ready. I said hard things. They didn't argue or defend. They listened back. It was new. It was uncomfortable. but it was honest. Only Lily stayed silent. I heard from Ben that she was struggling, skipping practice, mouthing off at teachers, pulling away, without me around to absorb the friction she created. The house was off balance. My parents didn't know how to handle her anymore. Then one morning, I got a letter in the mail, not an email, a handwritten envelope with my name on it. Inside was a note from Lily. Just one line at the top. I was always jealous of you. Her handwriting was hurried, uneven, the kind you write when your hands shake more than your heart wants to admit. I was always jealous of you, she'd written. Not because you were perfect, but because you didn't need to try so hard to be loved. Everyone already loved you for being good, for being calm, for being smart. I was the chaos. I was the problem. I hated that the only way I could stand out was by making you small. I read those words again and again, feeling every emotion I didn't know how to name. Anger, sadness, pity, maybe even relief. She continued. I know I ruined your birthday on purpose. I wanted to see you break because I was already breaking, and I didn't know how else to be seen. I've been in therapy. Mom and Dad too. The house is different now. Quiet. Maybe too quiet. They talk about you all the time. They know they messed up. I do too. I don't expect forgiveness. But I hope one day you'll come home. Not because they ask, but because you want to. I folded the letter carefully, smoothing the creases with trembling fingers. For so long, I had wanted an apology, some acknowledgement that what I felt wasn't imagined. And now that I had it, I didn't know what to do with it. Forgiveness, I realized, isn't something you give once. It's something you keep choosing, little by little, when the anger loses its usefulness. A few weeks later, my father suggested meeting halfway. Neutral ground, no pressure, a park near a lake. I agreed. On one condition: no guilt, no drama, no rewriting the past. He promised. The day I met them, the sky was gray, the kind of soft light that makes everything look honest. My parents stood waiting by the water, looking smaller than I remembered. Ben ran to me first, throwing his arms around my waist, his hair smelling like home. You really came, he whispered. I hugged him tight, my throat closing around the words I couldn't say. Then my mother stepped forward. Her eyes were red, her smile fragile. Thank you for meeting us, she said softly. I nodded, unsure how to bridge the space between us. My father spoke next, telling me they'd started family counseling, that they were learning how to see the patterns they'd ignored. We don't expect you to come back, he said, but we want you to know the door's open, and that we're finally looking inward instead of blaming outward. Then I saw Lily. She sat a few feet away, her eyes fixed on the lake, hands twisting together in her lap. When she finally looked at me, she didn't speak right away. She just said, I'm sorry. For the birthday, for all of it. You didn't deserve that. The wind shifted, carrying her words to me like something fragile and real. I didn't rush to forgive her. I didn't owe her that yet. But I did say, thank you for saying it. We sat on the grass and talked. Not like enemies, not even quite like sisters, but like two people trying to build something new out of what was broken. For the first time, I spoke without filtering my truth. I told them what it felt like to be invisible, to be the glue that no one notices until it's gone. They listened. No interruptions, no defensiveness, just quiet understanding. When it was time to leave, my mother hugged me and whispered, We're trying to change. My father added, We hope you'll see it someday. I promised I would. As Rachel drove me back to campus, I stared out the window, watching the landscape roll by. The same road that once carried me away from everything I'd known. This time, it didn't feel like escape. It felt like return on my own terms. Thanksgiving came, and for the first time since I left, I agreed to go home. Not to stay, not to pretend everything had healed, but to test the waters, to see if the house that once felt like a cage could now be something else. I set my expectations low. I told myself it was just 2 days. But still, when the train pulled into the station and I saw my father waiting with both hands gripping the steering wheel like a lifeline, I felt something shift in my chest. He didn't say much on the ride back, just asked about school, if I needed anything, how my library job was going. Small things, but gentle ones. When we pulled into the driveway, the house looked the same, but the energy was different. Lily opened the door and stepped aside instead of filling the threshold. My mom hugged me without squeezing too tight. Ben ran downstairs with a grin so wide it nearly undid me. Dinner was quiet, tense in places, but not hostile. My mother had made my favorite, baked ziti, not turkey, and set the table with the ceramic plates we never used. No one mentioned the last time I'd sat at that table. No one needed to. Later that night, Lily knocked on my door. "Want to go for a walk?" she asked. I hesitated, then nodded. We wandered the neighborhood in silence, the air crisp, the sky full of stars that had never felt worth noticing before. "I joined the school newspaper," she said suddenly. "I like writing. It helps me get out of my head." "That's good," I said. "You've always had a lot to say." She laughed. "Just once." "Yeah, I guess I used to shout it all out loud, hoping someone would hear." I stopped walking. "I heard you. I just didn't know how to answer." She looked at me, her eyes softer than I'd ever seen. "I want to be better, not just for Mom and Dad. For us." I believed her. Not completely, not forever, but enough. When I returned to campus, something inside me had settled. My family was still messy, still learning. But the difference now was, they weren't asking me to be their foundation anymore. They were trying to stand on their own. Back at Westbridge, I slipped into my life with more ease. My classes flourished. I submitted a short story to the campus literary journal and it was accepted. I celebrated my 19th birthday in the dorm lounge, surrounded by people who saw me, truly saw me, for who I was. That evening, a package arrived from home. Inside was a journal with a note from my mother. "For your stories. May they always be told with love and pride." There were cards from Ben and even Lily, who wrote, "You were the one holding us all together. I get it now. Thank you for walking away when you did." It forced all of us to finally look at ourselves. I sat alone with that journal on my lap, knowing I would never be invisible again. Not because the world suddenly became fair, but because I had stopped shrinking to fit inside someone else's frame. Leaving hadn't been an escape. It had been a reclamation, a declaration that I deserved to be more than someone else's support system. And in doing so, I didn't just find freedom. I found myself. Thank you for listening to my story. If it resonated with you, please subscribe to Vengeance Within for more stories of reclaiming power, setting boundaries, and healing through truth. Your voice matters. Never let anyone make you feel small.